In motherhood, you can help rewrite your story by vulnerably holding space for what was not always held, to nurture what moves within, being open to the pain and weakness that can reveal strengths to help you flourish well in who you are and what you're called to do. Welcome. This is the Healing for Her podcast. I'm your host, Nicola P. Hawkins, a faith filled woman, wife, mother, home educator, and a therapist. My hope is to encourage women, especially mothers, who experience distress and overwhelm in life by reminding her that what's hard is only part of her story and that she can shift from despair. Rather, awakening, healing to flourish well by compassionately connecting with her heart to experience order, vitality, and fullness in her right now season of life. I mean, who doesn't want to walk in their God given worth more healthfully? I invite you to linger a little longer with me and see what moves within. All right. I'm so glad you're back with me again today. I came across this quote as I was scrolling on Facebook earlier, and I really just wanted to share it. It is from Dr. Sue Johnson, who is the creator of emotionally focused couples therapy. And that's a model that I trained in as a therapist. And I just wanted to share from her book. It says Emotionally Focused Therapy for Trauma. That's the book this quote came out of. And it says here, emotional health is about having access to one's feelings, being able to tune into and explore them, and keeping one's emotional balance in a manner that allows the stress to be framed as manageable and the self to be viewed as worthy and competent. To view the self as worthy and competent. And so, this last episode, before this, I was sharing how, as moms, we carry these things and just take a closer look at how we navigate through motherhood and the hard seasons of life where intense pressure can come about, just even as women, of course, as human in general. They're just journeys we take in life happenings that occur along the way. But for the sake of this podcast, it's looking at, in this episode, it's looking at how this sense of intense pressure, how we go about without being open or vulnerable with ourselves to the needs that keep like um, nudging us for our attention, right? And us kind of being a sense of hopeful that we'll somehow bypass these pesky little pokings that come up. But then I think this is where when we pretend things are polished and good, this is where we don't allow ourselves to be viewed as the sense of worthy and competent, and things start feeling disintegrated. This is a word I'm looking for. Maybe not integrated, not ordered, not understood, not seen, not held. And I think this is where these things come in. And instead of coming from a known state of I'm human and I have needs, and then that we simply need support. And the old stories just kind of stay in the background and tell us something else about ourselves. And sometimes it can sound like we're defective, we're not good enough, we're too much, we are a burden, and that no one really cares to care about the specific pain that we're carrying. So we end up not carrying it alone. And I think that could be one of the most painful things, right? Is when we are in isolation with pain. So I think this is part where my heart is motivated for us to take the time to do some hard work, to really get curious. I was having a coffee with a friend, and just listening to her journey makes me even reflect on my journey. From childhood to adolescence to my adult years, being a young woman, to marrying, and all the narratives that come along with that, being a parent, um, and all the narratives that go well with that, and how I think we just we kind of get in this place where it's, we begin to, I don't know, learn to listen out for our friends' needs and our friends' perspective, and listen for their heart. We listen for our children's heart. Like, as mothers, as women, we are skilled in, dare I say, in some ways, um, like groomed and taught and encouraged, to become skilled at listening to everyone else. And rarely do we get to listen for our own needs, and we listen to others, their needs, their moods, their tensions, what chore needs to be done, what's still undone, who needs to be picked up from where, just the emotional temperature of the house. We tend to kind of have a good handle on that, and just all this, the subtle shifts in our spouses, in our children, in our colleagues at work, our bosses, just the tone in our child's voice, a cough, even, and yet, the thing, we anticipate the things that might go wrong with others, but we may miss that in our own self. And I think this is where, I'm just so encouraged to hop on here and encourage you that are choosing and taking the time to listen. And I'm just glad you're here. Thank you for even reading the title enough to click on it, so you can tend to, maybe that part of you that you haven't really spent time with listening to, and I know, like, that this can all be very much uh just the valid experiences of um some, you know just not really feeling, trying to find a word. It's like feeling like, do I have even permission to do this? I think, in the last episode I was talking about how, that sensation of, if I open this, it's gonna be a cascade of other things. But I'm always thinking, like, how can we make this thinner? How can we make this a smaller thing, just a small curiosity? Maybe I spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end of the day, and I choose to look at this one part, right? Um, just talking about how to make contact, with these just specific parts of our own self that we've disowned, to hold space, to hold a little bit of space, not self-abandoning or circulating, allowing the same kind of narratives to circulate in our minds, and then being able to see ourselves in order to then be able to share that with someone else. Lo and behold, we reach out and saying, hey, I recognize that I need this, and can you show up for this part of myself, right? At least now, when you've taken the time to be present with yourself, practice being present with yourself, at least you can gather some semblance of, this is what I need, right? Versus um operating out of these places of unknown, right? That being able to really just It's not, hmm, let's see. It's not a small thing. It's not an inconvenience. You can spend a small time and it can make a big shift when within you, because I think when we lose the ability to hear what's happening inside of ourselves, when you lose the ability to see you, sure, sure, absolutely, you can still function, you can still show up at the thing, you can still produce, you can still wipe some snotty nose, you can still, carry the load that you need to carry, right? Uh, but then you may find that you start to somewhat disappear in the background from your sense of self while doing it all, while keeping, those proverbial plates spinning, and it looks nicely and it looks polished, but somewhere deep inside, it's like, I'm not listening to myself. I don't even know how to do that anymore. And I don't know um, this longing of my heart. Um, I hopped into this book that I went to a going deeper thing and practicing silence, and I said, let me flip through it and let me share this quote with you. It says, "Your feelings are an integral part of who you are. Beneath your feelings, in the feedback mechanism of personality, lies the real man or woman, right? The real person that we are. The person who listens to his or her feelings is really looking at themselves with all the facades and pretense stripped away." Right. I know sometimes it can feel challenging. Segue. I need sometimes it can feel challenging. What if I looking in the mirror and I really see this real part of me, right? Or I look up and it's like, oh, I only see the mask. What happens if I remove the mask, so to say? The author goes on to say, the person who can begin to hear what their feelings are telling them can get at the root of their being. And they're saying this is like, it's not just belief, because we all are either taught something or we learn along the way, things of belief and right thinking. But he's going into this aspect of, if I will, saying right feeling. How do you go into sensing what message the body is sending, right? Um, and I feel like I want to add in like caveats and things like that, exceptions and what have you. But I think the body is telling us something. Now, as we go and we get curious and we listen, then we can know how to navigate, right? What is it telling? What is it telling us? So, okay, back in. I'm going to reread that section. The person who can begin to hear what their feelings are telling them can get at the root of their being. When you begin to hear what your feelings are telling you, you can begin to really understand yourself. You can, with little reflection and sometimes a little help from another person, get to the bottom of your feelings and thus to the bottom of yourself. Unless you identify your emotions correctly, you have neither self knowledge nor self control. I was like, oof. You are instead, whether you know it or not, often controlled by your emotions. Although you might try to hide this from yourself by denying or disguising your feelings, you do not thereby alter their influence on you. Sooner or later, indirect, or indirect fashion, what is really going on inside yourself will break through. Suppression of your emotions never really works with great effectiveness. And I'm just like, wow, this is the power of being able to go into the places where we deny our anger, where we deny our frustration, at work, in a home, what have you, where it just like then compacts and create these complexities and these feelings that he goes on to talk about it, that they're never successfully drowned out by the surface noise of life. Life does present us with a lot of noise, a lot of demands that are present, and then those of the noise that built up in our belief system, that is in the fiber of our beings, like it's just kind of hanging out there. And not to like make this sounds like so doomed and what have you, but I'm like, these are the subconscious, just some of these are just, hanging out back there. And then for some of us, they're just targets, like fiery darts coming at you on repeat. Your mind can't settle. You can't have peace when um or rest, literally sleep, when you lay on your bed. It's like you can't drink enough magnesium, you can't soak in enough magnesium, you can't pop enough melatonin. It's just that I am having restlessness, right? Or that you get the drift. Lest I go on. I'm just a few conversations this week, and I'm just like, man, being able to do this part. And I'm always like, I mean, maybe lately, I'm like, if at least I can manage to examine my own heart, to attend to my own heart, right? I can at least be honest with my own self, right? Maybe I may feel the need in this circumstance to keep my cards close, or maybe I don't feel like there's a sense of safety where I can share this thing. And I know some of you who might be listening to this, you may be in a context where it's like, it is not okay for me to be vulnerable, and I get that. My thing is, can we be curious with the own self, and give that much room to hold what your body's saying, so that it doesn't feel like you're crazy and having a mind F, right? Where it's just like, what is going on, but that at least you can say, this is real, this is reality, this is what I need, even if I can't reach for someone, or that I reach and they can't respond. And then the body can, and with wise counsel, you can figure out how to navigate your next best steps. So I'm not trying to get into all of the specific what to do next, but hey, can we go in here inward and tend to the heart? Okay, so ready? Maybe grab a journal, some paper, or something like that. I mean, for me, I'll probably be in some kind of little nook area with some random piece of, I don't know, receipt that I'm writing on. But I don't know. Hopefully this doesn't feel too long, because I found myself jotting down things that I'm like, oh, this is so good. Um, so if you can get comfortably, I just want to reflect with you, that we can pause, that we can reflect. Um, and maybe you need to come back to this part later, or just simply listen as you move about. So I think first thing is like, can I become aware and attune um, within myself? Can I pause and take a breath, like an inhale for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 4, or a little bit longer. Allowing the body to slow down for a second, right? Okay, so trying to get curious, like in the last time when a conflict came up, where you can notice something happening, being able to say, what happened? What was the emotion that I experienced? Can I name it? Was it just one, or were there several emotions? Can I notice what emotion I felt first? Right? That last moment where you felt the kind of frustration that just sent you, right? Right before maybe you slammed that door, or you walked away, or you yelled at your little one. Ugh, that didn't feel good for myself or for them, right? Next, can you, like I said, name the deeper feeling, right? Did you feel the sense of unseen? You're asking, did I feel like I'm not being heard? Are you asking that to yourself? Why can't I be heard? Why aren't they listening? Right? Can my spouse take in what I'm saying? I feel like they're rebutting, right? Does it feel like your efforts are not effective? What are you saying? You know, what are you sensing? We have a myriad of emotion. I know my emotional words were definitely um, limited. So is it that I'm feeling abandoned, inadequate, or maybe adequate? You can do this process if you're experiencing like a joyful moment as well. But in that we're talking about pain, you know, did a sense of badness come up? Rejection, confusion, concern, was sad, mad, angry, sense of shame. Oh, shame, right? Fear, some kind of silent grief. That thing that's like, it's lingering back there, right? All right. What did the moment begin to mean inside of you, right? Like, what did this mean inside of me? Like, what's the story I'm telling myself, right? Not even that, like, I'm telling myself, but like it just shoots up so quickly because it's just there, right? This is the thing that is so automatic now, right? This is the go to thought. This is a thought that sometimes you're trying so desperately to run away from. Like, I don't want that shooting through my thought cavities, right? Here I go again with this thinking, right? Yeah. Like, it's a sense like our ways of like meaning making is where we can tend to find our feelings intensifying. I don't know if you noticed that for yourself. It like can start with the sense of like, that was dumb. And then it's like, more fuel, more thought kind of comes in and fuels. Then it's like, oh, I'm stupid. How could I? And then it's like, oh, that other version of feeling like comes in, it deepens, and then it's, further sends you into like, why am I even like this? Or no wonder fill in a blank, right? I should have never been a fill in a blank, I don't deserve to fill in a blank. Sometimes it just kind of cascades in one thing after the next. Some version of spiraling, spiraling out of control and what feels like out of control. Yeah. But it's like the sense of it's just a familiar argument within and it feels so fiery, right? Even the yeah. So it's like this is maybe a well charted thought, or maybe something new happened. And now you're just trying to think, how do I make meaning of this new thing? This is shocking, right? Next, as you reflect on this, can you connect with what you need? And um is it that you need to like need a do-over, right? What do I need right now? Yeah. And is it that you need to step outside to get some fresh air, walk away for a quick 5 minutes to recover? Do you need to admit to yourself that that moment was frightening or overwhelming, etc.? And I know I got to need, but sometimes I can be like, what's my behavior? Like I felt like this thing happened. Oof, this happened. Here we go again, right? And then maybe I slammed the door, this kind of a behavior. Maybe I yelled, this kind of a behavior. Kind of going into this place of, oh, what did that mean? What was going on? Oh, I felt ashamed again. I felt sad. I felt frightened, right? And maybe like, what did I need instead? You know? Can I be curious with within me, right? Before I go and making maybe a demand or a request, not like a demand in just a negative way. I know that word maybe is co-opted to feel negative, but um, yeah. Is there a way to hold yourself accountable? Maybe saying you're responsible, what part of your behavior that you're responsible. Like, whoa, that was, if it's a child that was big, mom yelled. I am sorry, that was frightening for you, you know. Mom got frustrated, and that's not yours to hold. That's mom needs to work through that. Um and I'm sorry, that frightened you. And then being able to talk, um, or that it was too loud or whatever, and being able to talk and help them navigate too. I feel like this ends up being a way of modeling, just human to human, man. Kids, they have their meltdown. I think they get it. Oh my gosh, I think they get it way more than we think they're getting it. We think we're gonna just make them, like, we're gonna spoil them, like, hinder them in some ways. But they know, they get sad, upset. I remember I was driving in a car with driving in a car with one of my kiddo, and one was in the back, and I think she got spooked by like a fly or something that came in, and she thought it was a bee, and she's afraid of bee, and she's like, and make this scream that reminded me of when she was like a little baby. And I quick try to pull over, like, what is happening? And it just jolted through my body, and I began driving again. And I was saying, "Oh, my reaction. I was surprised by my reaction, um, and my fright. Like I said, I just got so frightened for you, for you, and then I got overwhelmed in the moment. And I'm driving, and I'm like, gosh, I kept saying out loud, gosh, I don't know why I responded that way. I don't know why I got so emotional or frightened and frightened for her. And then one of my little minis was like, Mom, that's okay. That's okay. You can, showing her a couple tapping things. And she's like, you can do that thing. Your body's safe right now. And that was frightening. And I was like, oh my gosh. Of course, I teared up. I was probably on the verge, but she definitely pushed me over. And that's that modeling, right? It's not to say, woohoo, yelling is the, next hot parenting thing. But hey, if that happens, how do I go in and make a repair with them and with the self, right? And so it's, yeah, I think one of the aspect is that I'm human, you're human, and it's okay. We learn to reach and repair. Okay, back in. I'm not sure where I segue from. I was talking about, um, in the EFT model. One of the things that we use, and an acronym that came out of it is TEMP. So it's checking your temperature, if you will. How hot am I? How cold am I? Right, if you will. So it's a point of saying what triggered me, what unearthed the moment, what signaled me, what cued me up, what got my attention. This is basically what I'm kind of walking you through right now. What triggered me right now? What just happened? That question. And then what I did as a result of it, I jumped to the P. Now, what emotions did I notice that was coming up? Sad, angry. I just felt hurt, and maybe I felt, maybe not exactly lonely, but maybe lonely or disappointed, discouraged, something of that sort. Um, maybe a physical feeling of, I just felt weak. I feel like the blood just washed out of my body. Maybe tense or just wiry, fiery, right? Yeah. And then how am I making sense of this, right? The facts are that feelings need us to just lean in. And healing doesn't begin when you stop having feelings. Like that's not the thing. Like learn to master my feeling is not the name of the game. It's being, how can I be curious with my feelings? How can I be curious with my emotion and begin to work through them instead of suppressing them or pushing them away or being fearful of them because I don't know what's gonna come about, right? So healing and effective like change begins when our internal felt belief is that our feelings now will be known. They'll know they belong. They know they don't any longer have to like fight so hard to be acknowledged. You don't have to just be little pesky poking, in the background. And it's like the feeling unacknowledged, it just becomes dirty and it slow leaks and funks up the place, right? But it's like, oh, I am having pain like this and I'm acknowledging it and I'm tending to it and I'm cultivating like the curiosity, the 10th part of it. I'm going in, I'm saying, what is going on? And all of that. And then it's like, as a result of doing that, what do I need? And can I share that need with someone else? Right. And is it skills that you need to learn around whatever when it comes to parenting? Maybe my child keep displaying a certain behavior and I've never experienced this before. Instead of staying isolated in that, like can I ask a friend, a neighbor, a pediatrician or something? Is it something on the job that I'm curious about? Can I bring this to my boss or whomever that I'm in leadership with or parallel, however that works in your personal life. But I hope you're getting a gist of what I'm saying here, right? It's about the person who's able to notice her pain and stay with herself long enough to stay in it, to hold it, to nurture, to tend to, right? And then being able to reach for support, knowing that that process is not about weakness, but that acknowledging this place of pain may feel weak, but that's where the strength can be extracted from that, because then you feel like you're being empowered. Um, yes, and dare I say, in my own life, when I've done some of this, it's like I feel more energy in my own body to do more of the other things that I desire to do versus using energy to try and mask or suppress or push down or move away from. I spend more energy trying to move away from that instead of holding it. It's like surprise to self, right? When you do this work and you allow some of these things to work through, it's you become increasingly emotionally anchored. You can shift, you know, uh, your sense of self belief, belief about things, and what's the word I'm looking for? How you advocate for yourself. It's a different level of self seeing and self acceptance of what's needed and what's going on in your world, right? I think for any woman that is mhm, like this kind of a process, it may feel deeply new or it's a different way of thinking through, or maybe you've done some work around this and so it's just maybe a little bit of a deeper way, or maybe you feel like you have a little bit more permission to than previously that you've been previously allowed to experience. And perhaps no one has sat with you in your pain before, and or that you haven't felt comfortable enough. And because, sometimes our younger selves, we're told to either go to timeout or save tears for another time, or, girls should be happy, or um, just the narratives that, and I think, oh gosh, I think some of it was well intended, right? I just want to pause for that. gosh, some of the messages that we got, it was well intended. Like our previous generation figured out how to navigate and survive, and they were trying to, in some ways, teach survival, or their nervous system did not know how to hold space, or others didn't hold space for their nervous system. Therefore, it's just like, oh, let me teach you what I know. And that's to find something happy to think about, find something to do, which all of that has its place in time, right? And so, um, you know, this growing in competence, I think sometimes might have been, like I said, praise, move past this thing. And therefore, like, you didn't know how to honestly look at this part of you and knowing how to hold space for it. And that's okay. It's so doing something like this can almost send a message like, this is a little danger cue, like this feels too unfamiliar, right? But I think that, this, again, this hope is that you learn some nuance around how to do this a little bit different, a little deeper, a little bit, get creative with yourself to look at what's that thing moving inside of me. Some call it anxiety or what have you, right? So you can totally become the kind of woman who no longer treats her inner pain like an enemy, or that you can notice what is underneath, like I said, the anger, the numbing, the the freeze, the when your system is collapsed, like, okay, oop, my system is doing that thing again. It's collapsing. It's kind of in some kind of freeze, some kind of fight, flight kind of a thing. Um, and it's like, okay, can I get curious about this? Is it anxiety? Can I, get curious about, what does this pain mean? And then how do I go from here? Not disqualifying myself. Say disqualifying. Um, it's another word I'm looking for. Like that, like being you can be human. Maybe that's better. Um, you learn to comfort your needs. You learn to lean in. Don't disqualify the pain. Don't disqualify it because you think it's some kind of a weakness. Don't disqualify it because you think, oh, I only can be strong here. Like earlier I was saying, as mothers and women, we can get stuff done. We can we can press on and go forward. And I think even now, hitting up menopause and all the things, perimenopause and all the things coming out about that, it's like, oh, we've held for so long and so well, and now our system is like all system crashing, with all the different hormone fluctuations and shift, and realizing, hey, we can't hold things in the same way. Of course, you can take meds and this and supplements and all of that stuff that help you to further uphold things, because you can't just drop things, but you know, sometimes we need to put some things down, be it for a season, and navigate so that we can be steady, have a sober mind, and a steady sense of self versus feeling the like a there's a word I'm looking for. Uh in parts, feeling like you're disintegrate. That's not a word I'm looking for. Not having integration within self, not being together, being known within the self. Okay. Ah, man, my have looking through all of these aspects, this week, just kind of pondering on just motherhood, you know, and just womanhood in general. I guess I'm a mother, and this is a lens, and this is the this is the role that that I'm most often in. And so I'm familiar with that kind of pain. And when I sat with women, a large percentage of my clientele were like stay-at-home moms or some working moms. And so I'm very familiar um, with some of this narrative and the behind the scene work of of this role, and how things can if feel like they collapse without even being without it being fully realized, right? And I think that's why I was talking after the maternal mental health, how vastly important it is to find and cultivate community. No, it doesn't have to be your number one tribe, your BFF. You don't have to know each other from way back when, but you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be known. You deserve to be heard and listened to and understood. I know there's a large part of me as I've journeyed through. I'm like, Lord, let me see your daughters. Let me have eyes to see. And I don't know if it's because I have daughters myself. It's just like I want to be able to see. I know your heart feels and are concerned about the things that concern us as women, and help me to understand, and help me to see, help me to speak life into other women, speak life into myself, my daughters, and other women. And I think that's what I think about when if they become mothers, like what would that journey look like? What have I modeled for them? And what are the takeaways that they will take away? And I think one of the things that I hope is that they can tend to the garden within the garden of their heart, and that it's not a thing to be ashamed of. It's not a thing to ignore. That our emotions aren't separate from all else of our life. It impacts our emotional health, mental health, physical health, relational health. All of those things are it's like a woven. It gets woven into itself. And so motherhood and womanhood is filled with a lot of beauty, and it naturally has its own um uh pain and areas of growth. I mean, when I say pain, literally, when you think about childbirth, there's a beauty that comes with that, and there's lots of strengths and self realization and growth that I've had as a woman, and journeying in motherhood. And it's not that it becomes painless, but how can we carry this well and be our best sense of self for the mission that we're on, raising our babies, partnering with our spouses, and acting and empowering those in our community and neighborhood, and those who we get our coffee from, just to walk out into the world and have a sense of camaraderie with our fellow human beings. I think that definitely moved my heart. So yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So it's not that motherhood becomes painless, but that pain or the burying of it no longer has to be carried alone, or hidden in shame, or acted out in some kind of sideways thing, right? Where it's slow leaking and it creates more pain, right? Unintentionally. Just know that you deserve support for the places in you that still hurt. And know that the more you learn to offer yourself honesty and compassion, the more freedom you create for repair, wisdom, and deeper connection in yourself and in your home and beyond. So, as I close, remember, being stuck in the pain is not the only option. I'll say it again, be stuck in pain. Being stuck in pain is not the only option. I want you to be able to breathe, 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 breathe. Get curious, listen, and feel. Find pockets of space, because I know women are in varied scenario. And if you're listening, maybe you're in one of those that are very unfavorable. Maybe you're in a medium good thing or a good great thing, right? You still need that breath. You still need to breathe and allow life to flow through you, allow hope to flow through you. And I think to hope is to get beyond despair. To hope is to get beyond the place that you feel like I'm only stuck here, right? And that, yeah, to be able to cultivate in a sense of regulation and comfort, for yourself and in your experiences, that, instead of feeling that rigidity, feeling rigid and in isolation, that you can go beyond that, go beyond feeling alone, go beyond feeling shamed, go beyond feeling like you can only use walls and or other protective strategies as a way of survival, that go beyond being pretentious, go beyond, giving the right answer. Oh, life is good. Everything's fine, right? And I know sometimes we do those things for a sense of survival, but by golly, you can notice what's happening within. You can get curious. You can name it to tame it. Do that just for you, if nobody else. Track down the narratives, the stories, toxic stories that may shoot through you, automatic negative thoughts that shoots through you, right? Those ants, automatic negative thoughts that shoots through. Be compassionately curious. Bring that curiosity up as you seek to comfort, right? As you seek to soothe that thing that's bumping up into your system, that's saying, hey, see me. And as you bring about this compassionate curiosity, then that can help you to know, hey, and remind you that, hey, I can reach out, I can make repairs with myself, with my child, with my spouse, with a neighbor, friend, right? With my dreams. Yeah. So if you've enjoyed this chat, I hope that you find something in it that speaks to you, that you find useful, if not for yourself, for a girlfriend. Share it to a friend, right? Yeah. I again, it might feel that it is worthwhile only to ignore the emotions or not to trust the emotions, but these are compass. This is a signals in the body that's saying, hey, something needs the attention. And so I hope that you find your footing with this. I know there's so many narratives and noise around emotions, but I hope that you can find your way to your heart and cultivate some self-trust in there to move. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, as you're listening to this, if you're looking for someone to walk with you through this stage of life, reach out and connect to someone, albeit maybe a vulnerable thing to do, right? I myself am beginning to open a few spots to work with a few amazing women So if that's you, reach out. There'll be a link in the description. All right, take care. I hope this experience has allowed you to connect within and that you feel inspired to flourish well. Until next time, keep healing for her. It is worth it. You can follow us here and reach out by emailing us at healingforher@gmail.com. That is HEALING, the number 4, HER at gmail.com. Thank you.